and then just being uncomfortable, like in that position and just owning it. And in that area of discomfort is where, struggling through the adversity, struggling through the things that you don't know, but you got to have the answers for, like all that allows you to grow and to evolve. And I don't think that applies. That's not unique to business. It's life, So just being yourself, knowing where you're at and being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
What's up, everyone? It's Eric Vessels with Taktiful. Welcome back to another episode of Taktiful Tuesdays. I believe this is actually a special episode. This is episode 10. So this is the dime episode. I've got all the way up to 10. I'm starting to learn how to do this thing. I'm really pleased to have with me Bill Duerr, who is president of Hatteras. Been with the company for 15 years. Bill, welcome.
Thank you. We'll be dropping dimes today, I guess, right?
You're the dime guy. Episode 10. I have to be careful because I did this in another episode. I was like, this is episode 7. And I moved the episodes around, so it ended up being episode 9 that we just ran today. So it's just like, you got to be careful with it. But for those who may not be familiar, a lot of you I know are Hatteras Printing, based in New Jersey, a premier provider of high quality commercial printing solutions, specializing offset and digital packaging, direct mail, large format graphics, and recently entered the digital embellishment space. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So Bill, I want to get into this. Taktiful Tuesdays, it's kind of lighthearted. We want to talk about fun stuff, but we also want to dive into serious business issues. The first thing I want to sort of talk about relative to Hatteras is how have you guys optimized different operations to stay competitive in what's becoming a really saturated traditional consolidating industry like printing. And I know the printers that I've visited that seem to be successful almost adopt a manufacturing type mentality. How have you guys optimized operations in that way?
Yeah, I don't think it's a simple answer. I think there's a lot of things that we've done to, remain relevant and continue to change with the needs of the marketplace. But I think for us, it's always started with service and really becoming an extension of our client and understanding their needs. And while every company we work with is like its own country, they've all got their set of rules, requirements, and things that they hone in on. Our ability to adapt to their needs and understand their business and listen intently. If we do that, our best customers are going to tell us what we need to know. And we've always shaped the company and our operation around the direction that the marketplace is going in. So it really starts with the way we service our clients and then the way we make them feel. And then, from a manufacturing standpoint, the best thing about us is we do a lot of different things. The worst thing about us is we do a lot of different things. So the ability to kind of have workflows and avenues to get jobs in and information out and everything's flow somewhat seamlessly is you have to kind of treat each area in its own way. While we have, a set of fundamentals that we follow, whether it's a digital job or an offset job or a large format job, there's certain nuanced things that we need to adapt our processes to allow, for different job types to enter in that way. So, different areas. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think, what I'm hearing you say is like you probably have some overarching philosophies in terms of production, but in the wide format area, there may be some things specific to that process or in digital printing or now, in embellishment. But I love the fact, I'm just so encouraged by the fact that you started with your customer, right? Like I asked you very much a process question. And it's so top of mind for you to say, well, we listen to our customers and then you talked about the manufacturing process. So it's so refreshing to hear that because a lot of times there's a focus on, we get this equipment and we build this workflow and build that and then we go to try to sell it. So you're actually just listening before it's consultative and it's wonderful. I think that's a lesson for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't know any other way. My dad's kind of instilled that in me and in the company. It's part of our culture, and it kind of blows my mind when I hear people approach it any differently because without the customer, without sales, like you got nothing to manufacture. So you better keep your finger on the pulse of the marketplace. And we had lunch with a client today, and we we were getting more opportunities, and we're asking why. And we want to make sure we don't make the same mistakes that the other suppliers making that's allowing us to get more opportunities. And the answer was they're too set in their ways. And maybe they're really good at what they do, but if you're not listening to the client, we're dealing with a person inside a company who has a boss to answer to and company goals to achieve. Like, it's our responsibility to help them do that and help shepherd them through the process. If we do that, it should result in more opportunity for our company. And that's just how we're going to build the business and continue to evolve.
Absolutely. You said something really important there, I think, is you're winning new business from somebody's losing that business, right? So like, I love that you're like, hey, like top of mind is like, well, somebody lost that business. How did they, and how can we prevent that from happening, right? Again, that's that cultural listen to the customer thing that your father and clearly permeates throughout Hatteras. So I love it. Let's talk a little bit about digital embellishment. Have entered the inkjet digital embellishment market. You've got a brand new Harris Bruno ZRX press that I think you saw at Drupa. Currently, you guys are going through, I'm leading you guys and along with Kevin and some of our subject matter experts, an 8-week boot camp to kind of get you up to speed with everything. It's early in the game, so I'm not asking for an endorsement yet, but talk about what that acquisition of that equipment means and your commitment to really learning. And I'm seeing a lot of top-down leadership in terms of here's how we're going to use this equipment, and everybody, you're investing in the learning, you're investing in the time and the resources it takes to not just throw a new piece of equipment on the floor and hope it works. You're really investing in ensuring that it does work for your customers.
I mean, it's got to work. It's a huge investment. It's a game changer for us because while we make a lot of investments in the company, it's a capital intensive business. Most of the time, those investments make us, maybe there's a marginal improvement to our quality, but the investments are usually driven around like throughput. Where this, while there is a throughput story, it's really a way that we can bring something new and different to our customer base. So it gives us an opportunity to be creative, to shape the market, to allow our customers to do things a little bit better and differently than they're doing them now. And while digital embellishments aren't new to the marketplace, I think that the Harris Bruno ZRX, really does some things in a unique way that some of the other digital embellishment devices don't. And I think Harris Bruno and the team there, it's an industrial device. It's gonna be with us for a while. It's really built to last. And I go out on a limb a lot of times when I make investments, and I try to create a lot of buy-in, and the team usually gets on board. But with this one, they're very excited. Like, from our most seasoned sales rep to our newest sales rep, everybody sees this as something exciting that they can go out that's different, that they can put in front of our customers, rather than just say, hey, we got this new press and it runs real fast. That's really not going to differentiate us.
Well, I think that's an important thing, right? Because a lot of times investments or incremental changes add just that. It's like an incremental change. This is an entirely new offering for you and for a lot of your customers. And that's, I think, where that energy comes from. So it'll be exciting to watch your journey. And we're at, Taktiful, obviously very humbled and pleased to be a part of the journey and helping you through it. It's exciting stuff. It's cool. I feel the energy from the sessions that we've done already and look forward to more of it, because we're going to get into some nitty gritty in the next couple of weeks of actually how to do the things. Let's talk AI a little bit. Do you guys do anything with AI or automation in your workflow? And just wondering how that landscape has changed your business or the outlook of it potentially impacting you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we use it in pockets. I think it's underutilized here organizationally right now. From a sales perspective, we use a lot of AI tools on our calls with our clients to summarize calls, to create action items as follow-up. I encourage the team to use ChatGPT to help finesse their emails a bit. Write your own emails, do talk to text, but if you need it cleaned up, you need it professionalized, run it through ChatGPT, read it, make it your own again, but use that tool. Absolutely. If you're stuck and you're looking for ideas, throw some prompts in, see what you get back. Where we're working on leveraging AI more is we're implementing a new MIS system. Through that system, we're going to have more structured and organized data. And then I think that'll really open up a pathway for us to leverage like machine learning and AI to help with scheduling, pricing, things like that. Right now, we're in a little bit of an older system, and the integrity of the data is not really there. So moving to this new system, which will happen in Q2 of this year, will be huge for us. And then just to your question on the automation side, it's a similar story, but we do have quite a bit of automation within the company where, different workflows specifically for digital printing, where we're using tools like Quadient for our, variable data engine, or HP SiteFlow to automate orders, from our storefronts into the shop floor. So, there's pockets of automation here. And we're trying to connect those as we go to make sure we're fully able to automate things. But I think we're just really scratching the surface on our end, but it's definitely top of mind, and we see a lot more potential once that new MIS system goes live.
Well, that's the whole thing about it, right? Is the curiosity of it. Is just that, you're thinking about it, and you've got some things, and you're sort of iterating it. And we use ChatGPT as you know, with a lot of the kinds of tasks that would take you a lot longer. It's about building in efficiencies. And what I would say is, I don't know if your folks are doing this, but the ability to train your own GPT model in your voice is something that I've been experiencing or experimenting with. And it's really actually pretty fascinating. I just basically copied and pasted some emails that I've written and some LinkedIn posts, and I gave it my LinkedIn bio, and I was just like, match this voice. And when I prompt it, it comes back and it sounds more like me than it does like an AI, which I think is one of the big complaints. So, for your folks and anybody out there listening, train those GPT models specific to your voice. And if you've got questions about that, let me know. I've been experimenting with it and messing around with it.
And I love that that's the key. That's the key, is just, trying it. So one of the basic analogies I heard, do you want the screwdriver or do you want the drill? And the AI is using the drill, and it's helping us get to where we need to go quicker.
For sure. And look, it's like any tool. It's only as good as you're able to use it. It's only as good as you're able to integrate it. You're able to train it. And also, most importantly, and we've talked about this in some of our digital embellishment stuff that we're working with you guys on, there's times when decide not to use it, right? Like it's the old, everything's a nail if you're a hammer. You don't have to embellish every piece of print. You don't have to use, AI and everything, but where you can utilize it to build efficiencies, I think it makes sense. And I love that you guys are thinking about it, at least. I wanted to ask you also about emerging technologies from your perspective. Obviously, 15 years running Hatteras, you're paying attention, you're acquiring new, equipment via CapEx. Do you think, what technologies that are emerging do you think will have the biggest impact over, say, like the next 5 to 10 years? And maybe AI is one of them. But what are you seeing that when you see it, you're like, man, we got to be on the lookout for this, because this is going to be big.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Obviously, we're all paying attention to AI and where it's going to take things. I think for us, it's really making sure, like from the software stack standpoint, is that when we're implementing something, we're figuring out how to use it across the entire client base and product mix, and not just using it to solve a singular problem. And then we have like 20 different softwares we're using. So I think that's big. On the digital print side, I think it's really like looking at, digital cut sheet versus these digital webs, and the direction that that's going to go in, and how can we ensure the right speeds, the right quality, the right inline finishing, like just keeping our finger on the pulse of the direction that's going to go in, I think is going to be really interesting. And I think both, the digital cut sheet, whether it's your Indigo or your Landa or the digital web, there's a lot of competitive companies in those spaces now. So kind of watching that and seeing what evolves from there. And I think you mentioned Drupa before, going to Drupa this year, and there not having been a Drupa in 8 years, a lot of things had really moved significantly.
Yeah.
So just keeping your finger on the pulse of that, and, making sure that the equipment that you're going after is going to do what you're told it's going to do, and really putting it through its process and vetting it out, I think is really important.
Well, you've mentioned data, and I think I hear that you've got an underlying theme of data, right? New MIS, you're trying to kind of commonize it. You're also trying to make sure that when you have incoming data that you're able to like use it for more than one thing. And I think that's going to continue to be something that I think the most progressive and successful printers do and have for, a long time now, is managing data for their customers. And, you're going to be able to do some cool stuff now with maybe variable foil stuff, and what does variable require? It requires good, clean data. Right.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
love that you're thinking about that stuff. So I want to talk, you mentioned culture a little bit. What strategies have you implemented to cultivate your company culture? Like, how do you build a culture? Like, what does that entail? Does it magically happen? Is it consistency? Is it a handbook? Like, how do you, because you could tell like everybody and their brother can tell almost when you walk in the building or when you have that first call with so and so company. You gauge their culture almost right away, right? It permeates almost everything they do, and it's coming across from you in this entire podcast episode. So how does that happen? Do you think? What's your philosophy around?
I mean, I'm sure there's playbooks out there on it, but like for me, you have to lead from the front and you have to lead by example. And you also have to create an environment where people feel safe and they can be themselves and they can bring their unique abilities to the table, because it takes all kinds of people to make a team and make a company and make it go around. And like, not everybody's a salesperson and not everybody's a press operator, so getting everybody to understand the overarching vision, that the parts equal the whole, that they're part of something greater than themselves. I mean, my background, my foundation of understanding life is through sports. I never thought I would be leading the company. I thought I'd be a lacrosse coach. But that whole little shtick I just gave about the vision, the parts equal the whole, getting people to understand they're part of something greater than themselves. I was saying the same thing when I was coaching college lacrosse. Now I'm in a different arena. I'm in a printing company, and it's the same thing. And my dad lived this example, and the culture, while it was slightly different while he was here, because he was a different person, at our core, we believe in a lot of the same things, and we believe in the people that work here. We try to empower them to do their jobs and trust them to do what they've been brought on to do. And we try to lead by example, and we try to leverage our unique ability. I can't go do what 95% of the team members out in the shop are doing, and they can't do what I'm doing. So understanding that we all play a role in this ecosystem and in this company, that's the essence of the culture. And then we do other things like everyone's coming to work every day. We've all got to go to work. We've all got to make a living. Let's make sure it's an enjoyable place. The printing business can be stressful. So like we do things for the employees so we can activate the abilities of the company to do nice things for the employees, or we can activate the company to do something for the community so everybody feels good about what they're contributing to. At the end of the day, we're printing stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. There's a lot of satisfaction in that, but like we also want people to feel good about the people they work with, where they work, the purpose that their company serves in the community. So I'm going on a little bit of a tangent because it's a lot of little things that add up to create the culture and the ecosystem. And, we want our brand and our company to feel the same, whether you're, on social media interacting with us, or whether you walk into our building, or whether we meet you out for lunch. Like we want to make you feel a certain way. And all of that comes whether you're a supplier, a customer, an employee, a prospective employee, like it all factors in, and it's really important for us.
I love it. And it boils down to people. And what I've noticed about gauging culture is there's an authenticity to it, right? Like you can't I'm losing track of my words in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have like a negative approach to building a culture. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be real, right? Because like everybody can sniff out that it's not, right? With the motivational posters and stuff. If you're not actually doing what's on that poster, like that's everybody can figure that that's inauthentic. And I love the coaching metaphor. Beautiful metaphor, because it's at the end it's about people and how, and sports has always shown us, how do you get people with individual motivations to chase a common goal? And you've said it really beautifully, I think, is that you recognize the individual, but then you get everyone to buy into what that goal is. And in your case, it's producing beautiful print, and I'm sure everybody's really proud of that. But beyond that, you also have to enjoy the process of doing it. The output is great, but you have to enjoy the process. So really good lessons. I was just letting you roll there, man, because it was a lot of good stuff that I think people should listen to. So last thing, or maybe second to last thing, advice you would give to someone who's an entrepreneur or looking to lead a group of people or has a printing company. Like what's a key piece of advice that you would give them if you just had them on the elevator for a bit?
Yeah, it's hard for me to give advice. I still feel like I'm, learning every day. But I think be yourself and be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think for me, and just where that's coming from is, I've been around this company my whole life. I've been here full time for 15 years. I was named president probably a little earlier than I really deserved it in my mind. And that made me really uncomfortable. And looking back, I thought I had to be something I wasn't at the time. And I was like, oh, what's a president? What's a CEO? I have to fit that role. I have to like fake it till I make it. And really, being myself is what allowed me to get through that and persevere. And then just being uncomfortable, like in that position and just owning it. And in that area of discomfort is where, struggling through the adversity, struggling through the things that you don't know, but you got to have the answers for, like all that allows you to grow and to evolve. And I don't think that applies. That's not unique to business. It's life, so just being yourself, knowing where you're at and being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Man, I love that. Authenticity. I mean, that goes to the culture too. And that embracing discomfort, I mean, honestly, I don't know if anyone said this, but what's coming to my mind is just like being out of your comfort zone is when there's growth. Like that's how else are you going to grow if you're not challenged with something that's new or uncomfortable? So, I absolutely love that. So much good stuff here. All right. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Oof. I got a lot of them. I mean, I have an amazing wife and two, beautiful young daughters. I love hanging out with them.
Awesome. That's a good mention.
When I'm not with them, I want to be surfing. And then lately I've gotten into jujitsu. So my wife's a blue belt and I've started about a year behind her because I want to make sure she can't like twist me into a pretzel someday.
I love it.
But I've started jujitsu, and talk about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I mean, I'm going to jujitsu and getting smashed like 5 days a week, and no part of my day is harder. So it's like a new passion, And at 41, I'm a beginner at something, and I love it. It's really cool.
It's always, I mean, that's again, I'm a longtime Zen student, and we always say, to try to adopt a beginner's mind, right? Because beginner's mind is very curious and uncomfortable and trying to learn, right? So, all right, real quick before we go, I know we've gone on. These usually run 20 some minutes. Give me a gnarly surfing story. I want to hear a gnarly one. Like, have you ever wiped out real bad?
I mean, I've wiped out real bad. 2 years ago, I took a trip to Indonesia. So I went to, 3 flights, basically ended up in Indonesia and took an 11-hour boat ride out to an island chain called the Mentawais. And I basically trained for a year to just make sure I was mentally and physically ready to do that. And I made it. I made it home. Caught some of the best waves of my life. There were some days where you're surfing on a reef in the middle of the ocean with a handful of guys, and there was definitely some butterflies and discomfort. But luckily, I made it through the trip without anything real crazy happening. So I don't have any real gnarly stories. I've been to some really cool places. I've made it in and out of the water in every scenario.
You just said 11-hour boat ride, Bill. That's gnarly.
Yeah, it was 11. It was. I did a 19-hour flight from Newark to Singapore, and then another flight from Singapore to Jakarta, and then Jakarta to Padang, and then an 11-hour boat ride. And we were on the boat for 11 days straight, just pulling up to these, picturesque reef breaks, just incredible setups. It was cool.
Brother, you've got like your definition of gnarly is one of the gnarliest stories I've ever heard. I took an 11-hour boat ride and I was on the damn thing for 11 days. That's gnarly as hell.
And
I
as
can only envision.
as a surfer, that's as a kid, that's what you dream of. So I think about it every single day.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was cool going across the world. My wife held it down for me for 2 weeks while I was gone, and I made it back in one piece, and so did everybody I was with. I'll never forget it, and I'm just going to put it out there. I'd like to go again in 2026.
So I got a year to train.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go. Well, Bill, it was a pleasure having you on. Learned so much. Best of luck with everything at Hatteras, all the new adventures, the ZRX install, diving into the world of digital embellishments. Good luck with the jiu-jitsu. I hope you're able to at least hold serve with your lovely wife there. Yeah. That's super important. Yeah, thanks for being on Taktiful Tuesdays, bro.
Thanks for having me, Eric. It's great. Thanks. Great connecting with you. Thank you.
It was the first typewriter to have the first machine to have the QWERTY keyboard. And as you know, QWERTYUIOP, that line, has all the letters for the word typewriter in it.
I don't think I knew that.
See?
So with 8 fingers, you can type the word typewriter.
That is correct. He